I'm waiting for a delivery and been scratching my head, and thought I'd have a break from the scratching away at 10,000ths of an inch on the straight edges. This little area here is somewhat overgrown. It's about 4 metres by 4 metres, and there's 600mm deep soil and stone. I'm going to dig all that lot out, and I think that's going to be my smithing area. Just got to build up enthusiasm for a bit of digging and gardening. I need to relocate this bench there and the fly press, and I'm on the lookout for some form of blower to fire my forge, which is currently, that's the fire basket, and I've got to get a plate to sit it in on a stand, and then the blower will blow underneath. Might have overcooked it with the blower. That's a 7.5 kilowatt side blower, which I'm looking to repurpose. I'll drop the motor off it. But I'm just going to take it apart now. The fan seems to be alright. I want to spin it up with something and see how much air comes out. Otherwise I'll be selling it as parts. Well, I've cleaned it up, and the ends had some trauma. I don't know whether it's been knocked off when it was in use because of somebody walking into the end. Anyway, that needs dressing up, and I'm going to do some research, but I think that's supposed to be all cleaned up. All I've done is took the rust off it. But just by way of info, it's Alldays and Onion, which just makes me laugh as a name. Alldays started out as a bellows manufacturer in the 1650s, and later in the mid 1700s merged with another fellow called Onions and started doing engineering likes. Alldays and Onions being formed then, and the firm continued on in various guises until the 1960s and early 70s, I think. Based in Birmingham, UK. From what I can establish, Alldays and Onions made furnace bellows, swages, anvils and other blacksmithing paraphernalia around about the turn of the last century, from around 1885 until about the First World War, so 1914. So my guess is this dates from around about the 1910 period. The key bit with mine, you've got the, I can't remember what they're all called, that's the beak, or the horn as some call it, but I think it's the beak on this. Normally they would have another flat piece which is not hardened, and then they go up to the table or the face. Mine hasn't got that, whereas it has got the two holes at the back, and if it was without the back hole that would date it a lot earlier. So it's around about 90 to 110 year old. The rebound, that's my only ball bearing, and if I've got to try and film this and catch it, it's pretty good if you compare that with a piece of steel. Yeah, you get the idea. It's 300 and, well, nearest damn it, 350 pound. It's a bit over weight. I can't find out when they started doing that as a ledge foot. I've not seen a picture of the same style of anvil. Seen similar, but they've all got the workpiece at the front. So that might help date it, and that's quite similar to, I think it's Peter Wright anvils. Now there seems to be some conjecture as to whether Alldays and Onions actually made the anvils or bought them in and had them, stamped up accordingly. I've no idea. There's not an awful lot of information about them available. But given that all I'm going to be doing is beating the shit out of something on it, I'm not bothered. So I had some Pratt's. Looks like it's been flame cutting
and nick the edges. So if I could weld, I'd weld them up, but I can't, so put up with them. That's the motif bit.
So my next job's to sort out a foot base for it, lifted up to work height, because it's currently about calf height on me, so it wants about 20, come up 20 inches. So we had a trip up to the scrapyard and went up looking for something else, and came back with leg vise, blacksmith leg vise. Appears to be all there. It's got the bracket for mounting it. It's got the spring, albeit don't think it's springing much. So I'm just going to take it apart, strip it down, get it in the rust eater, and then leave it. Also got a bust one, which I'm hoping to refurb and then probably sell that or give it away. And some bits of steel to use on it. And we got a, I don't know what they call that, a thing for putting in the end of the anvil. It gives you a pointy end that end and a flat end this end. There's probably a technical term. And then that one as well. That's had some serious wellying to get that bent round. And the bits of spanners and that I'll clean up and either use them or use the steel off them. And then found a really nice, very old vise. That's about a 3-inch. Chris wanted that one, so got him that. We've got the outer flange off, and the bearing there is that's where the fault lies. That's a bit grindy. Otherwise everything looks pretty good. All I want is the fan assembly and the shroud, and then I can mount the whole lot back up with a new shaft. I don't want the motor. The bearing, because I'm only going to be running at a relatively low speed, I shall take the bearing out, give it a wash and see what it's like then. Oh, I've got a little bit unstuck. Got the bearing off and the bearing housing, and that vane disc is keyed onto the shaft, and I've no means of getting hold of the outer piece to pull it off the shaft. I've put a bit of ease it on for now, and I'm having a rest. But basic setup, it's a twin fan, so you've got the same sort of setup behind it. It pulls air in and it comes into this fan through that side. And it's accelerated around and blown out through that hole. And you've got a shear angle. So as the air's coming round here, it's being pushed out, and that's the final shear. So that's where the clever bit of machining is, making sure that tolerance is tight. The rest of it is basically, I mean, what have you got there? Not far off ½ inch, and then all the fancy bloody array down there is just to keep it cold, because it'll help cool it down, because these things generate a load of heat when they're running at 3,500 RPM, as opposed to what I want, which is about 30. Yeah, so there's the keyway, and as I say, there's nothing to get hold of. So I'll have a think. So that's the motor off. What I'm surprised about is, well, I'm not, because they're all made for a price, but so it's got motor's got a bearing at the far end, and the front bearing is obviously the bit right on the end of there, which seems quite a long span for what it's doing. It's a decent sized shaft. I'm not going to make any use of the motor, so I might end up just taking out the shaft and chopping it off here and repurposing that shaft for my purposes, because all the work's done. It's got 2 keyways on it, it's threaded on the end. I've just got to make up something that end to fit a flange. So the basic setup, that end fits the motor here,
We've got, oops, we've got the first housing for the fan, which that face fits to. First fan, output ports, intermediate housing, and then the second fan and the outer housing. All I've got to decide is whether I'm going to build it up as a dual fan or clamp them together and run it like that, or just put it back together as it was and then just set up a secondary drive shaft. Anyway, hope you found that of interest. It may all end up back at the scrapyard.